Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Happening right now, day one of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour is getting underway. And scouts have a lot of ground to cover in a short amount of time, checking crop conditions in 7 states over the next 4 days. Now, the eastern leg of the tour today, starting in Ohio and ending in Indiana. In the west, the day begins in South Dakota, ending up in Nebraska.
Coverage of the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour is brought to you by Pioneer. Pioneer combines cutting-edge research with one of the largest local testing programs in the industry to help farmers succeed. Pioneer, what's next happens here.
One thing scouts are bound to come across in their travels, crops impacted by drought. And one state that will be key is Iowa. Farm Journal's Hein Morgan has more.
There's no doubt about it. Northeast Iowa is dry.
Right now, to try to pinpoint a yield is nearly impossible, and part of that reason is we haven't seen a drought of this intensity in so long.
Troy Deitmeyer is a Pioneer agronomist covering the northeast corner of Iowa. He says this year the main theme is just how variable this crop could be.
We're going to have some guys with the best crop maybe they've ever raised, and 8 miles down the road it might be the worst one since 1988 or 2012.
The latest U.S. Drought Monitor paints the picture, showing nearly 99% of Iowa is faced with dry and drought conditions, with 3% of the state still in extreme drought.
Probably some of the driest areas is probably around that Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area, and working your way down towards southeast Iowa.
He says some of that area did catch rains in early August, but it's still dry.
Those are some of the areas that are really hurting, 1 to 2 inches of rain since planting.
Yet even in those drought-stricken fields, he says plants are still fairly green.
The good part was with the super dry air and low humidity, we were allowed to really cool off at night. So it wasn't uncommon for us here to get down into the upper 50s, sometimes in a lot of low 60s. So that gave those plants, a breather overnight, just like we want to when we go into the air conditioning.
Iowa will be closely watched as scouts set out on the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour this upcoming week.
Because the Eastern Tour covers Illinois and the eastern half of Iowa, the 2 biggest corn and soybean producing states, I think that the eastern leg probably has the more question marks this year.
Brian Grady is editor of Pro Farmer and leads the eastern leg of the tour. He says the ultimate goal of Crop Tour is to span across 7 states and measure yield potential for both corn and soybeans.
It's a fact-finding mission, and at the end of the week, we'll have a really good representative sample across the 7 Corn Belt states that we cover, roughly 1,700 corn and 1,700 soybean samples.
This map shows the 7 states and areas the scouts will cover on their routes.
We don't cover all those areas. Iowa's the only state that we cover entirely, so we're in all 99 counties there, but the other 6 states in Crop Tour, there are areas. So we talk to producers that we know around those areas. We reach out to other sources within the industry and to get a good representative sample of those areas outside of where we sample from.
There's no question variability will be the headline with Crop Tour next week. But between advancements in genetics and producers propelling their production practices today, it's a question of how well this crop stood up to this year's weather extremes.
And with producers upping their game with management and the improvements in genetics, it's really hard to put a number on, and we're probably just going to have to wait till October to see how it turns out.